Survivor 48's cast had everything you could hope for. Villains, heroes, and legends. It's too bad half of them were cannon fodder.
Welcome to Joe Island, where we break down the biggest moments from your favorite reality TV shows. And today, we're diving into season 48 of Survivor. I will be ranking the players in a tier list based on how they performed during the season. So to explain the tier sections a little bit, the S tier basically is about transcending the season. So these players transcended Survivor 48. They're not only iconic, but legendary in their own right. This could be from gameplay or sheer presence. They left a mark that will stand the test of time, essentially. A tier is great players, right? So they had strong, intentional gameplay from start to finish. These players knew what they were doing. They made moves that mattered. They were also major characters and the kind of players who felt central to the season story. So they were kind of the main characters. B tier is for the underrated players. So these are the ones who didn't get enough credit. Smart plays, good reads, or small influence. They had the potential to go further, but they unfortunately did not. C tier is your below average players. That's not the worst, but certainly far from impressive. Whether they made weak moves, had bad luck, or just couldn't get their footing, their gameplay left a lot to be desired. And finally, F tier, disaster players. For these players, it just never came together. They either had bad reads, lacked awareness, or had no grasp of strategy. They were either forgotten or they flamed out fast. So, moving on to the tier list. All right, let's start with Stephanie Berger, right? She was voted out first in a 4-1 vote. She played her shot in the dark unsuccessfully, and she was a very passive player, not much to say. Say had originally tried to recruit her into an alliance. She basically declined, instead trying to take the game more slowly. That obviously backfired, and she ended up paying the price for it ultimately. Not much to say for her. She's going to go in F tier. Next, we have Kevin, probably most known for hurting his shoulder in the opening challenge. He did win the fight for supplies challenge against Kyle, however, even with his busted up shoulder. And to give credit where credit's due, he was well positioned on the first vote. He was in alliance with Say, Justin, and Cedrick at the time. I voted out Stephanie. He was a part of that vote out. He also kind of had a duo with Mary in the beginning, so he kind of had options in the beginning there. But ultimately, he overplayed his hand on the second vote, right? When he went after Say, Cedric and Justin sided with Say to vote him out 3-0. So suffice it to say, he kind of overplayed his hand, and he didn't play optimally at that second vote out, and that's why he's got to go in F tier. Justin is tough because he was actually in a very stable position for a while. He was brought into the majority alliance with Say, Cedric, and Kevin. He voted out Stephanie and Kevin with the majority. He was pretty tight with Cedric, so he was in a really good position. However, during episode 3, his game kind of crashed and burned, so Loggy selected him to go on a journey. He lost his vote on a luck-based dice game. He voted with the majority against Mary, but she played her start in the dark successfully. 1 in 6 shot, by the way. And Cedric chose to vote Justin out because he didn't tell him that he lost his vote. You could blame Justin for not telling Cedric, but at the end of the day, Justin just got unlucky, basically. That journey was based purely on luck, literally just rolling dice and seeing what happened. So I would blame luck to be his downside ultimately. He just had bad luck. I can't put him that high because he didn't make it that far. Third person voted out. But he'll go in C tier for now. Let's go with the next person. Thomas. Thomas was a great character. I think he should be brought back for future seasons. In terms of his gameplay, he was pretty good in the beginning. He was part of the California Girls Alliance. He had Bianca as his number 1. He had good relations with Star. He was pretty good with everybody. And he also earned a vote steal from the journey he went on day 4. So he was doing very well. However, during the swap, he kind of got duped by Kyle and Kamilla along with Shauhin and Joe when they decided to try to vote out Kyle, but Kyle played the idol on himself and Kamilla used her extra vote. And Thomas didn't see it coming. He didn't even use his vote steal. So ultimately, Thomas should definitely come back for a future season. But for his gameplay for this season, it's got to go in C tier. I think he did amazing in the beginning, but that that episode 4, getting duped by Kyle and Kamilla, that was his downfall. And ultimately, he probably should have used the steal a vote or tried to play a little bit more safe. But hindsight's 2020. Let's go to Bianca. Bianca was the number 1 for Thomas, like I just said. They lost their vote via the luck-based dice game journey. Same thing with Justin. Wasn't a fan of that journey. She found herself in a swing position come to swap between Cedrick and Say. Mitch and Chrissy. She attempted to hide her vote being lost, but failed and told Cedrick moments before to get him to vote Say. Cedrick told Chrissy about this last minute, and they voted her out in a 2-1-1 vote. Cedrick's a bit chaotic here. We voted out Justin because Justin didn't tell him about the lost vote, but Bianca told him, and then he voted her out because of it. So I don't know if you can blame Bianca a ton, and she was also just unlucky, just like Justin with that dice game. Had she not lost her vote, she would have been in a great swing position. She didn't make it too far, but I think I'm going to put her in the same category as Thomas and Justin. It's just a little unlucky, basically. But I can't place her much higher. Next, we've got Charity. Charity didn't do very well. Arguably, she was an outcast in Siva. Her only real ally was Mitch. She made it to the merge because all of the tribal challenges she was a part of, she won. So she basically got to the merge off of immunity wins. It was the first time for one of the merge votes to happen. She was basically deemed the least connected player. Her only real ally was Mitch, and she was voted out in a 7-5-1 vote. Not much to say about Charity. Gonna put her in F tier for obvious reasons. Next, we got Say. Say was awesome to watch. I hope she comes back. Major character. She created a majority alliance on Vulu. She had a decent position at the swap. Despite getting votes at a lot of her tribals, though, Cedrick actually saved her a few times, which came in handy for her having that ally, although their relationship was very rocky. But she was a very, very chaotic player. Played the game hard, played the game fast, helped her out in the beginning, but kind of slowly took away her reputation to the point where she was kind of an outcast along with Charity. Despite surviving that first vote at the merge, her reputation kind of caught up to her. Mitch played a vote block on her too, so she was voted out during the demerge 5-0. Say, I have to say, I gotta put in C tier. She's not F because unlike Charity or the rest of them, she made it pretty far. She made it at least to the demerge. She was also part of the majority alliance on her original tribe. She was in okay position at the swap. So she played a lot better than those players, but she just had too big of a reputation at the merge. Kind of like a Rome character. I hope she comes back, though. Great character to have on any season. Next, we have Cedrick. Arguably very chaotic player. Much of a wild card. He voted out Justin for not telling him he lost his vote, but he also voted out Bianca for telling him that she lost her vote. So didn't make a lot of sense there. He kind of made decisions on the whim, flying by the seat of his pants, essentially. I'm not sure if I can give him a lot of credit for any of those vote outs and if they helped them or not. I think they were more of a detriment than a help to him, honestly. He was well positioned during the pre-swap, right? He was in the majority alliance on his original tribe. But there's just a lot of negatives to his game, right? He voted out his closest ally, Justin, at the third tribal council. He had a chance to get rid of Say in that swap tribe. He did not. He voted out Bianca instead, who probably would have worked with him in the merge. So his game kind of fell apart, and he was kind of voted out when he ran out of allies. But I got to put him in F tier just because his game kind of crashed and burned towards the merge. And next we have Chrissy. Chrissy was a very quiet player. She was well positioned pretty much up until the merge. And she criticized the Strong Five Alliance. I'm trying to call them out, trying to rally people against them. Completely backfired because she was doing it publicly. Not the greatest idea. And she was voted out for it in an 8-1 vote. She didn't really have a lot of moves. She was positioned well in the beginning, but her power kind of waned up until the merge. And then when the Strong Five was created, her chances are pretty much over. I have to give her credit for trying, but she couldn't get the ball rolling and her execution was very poor. So got to go an F tier for sure. Next, we have David. David David was interesting. I think he should return for a future season for sure. I think a lot of people hate on David. I think David's a very underrated player. Let me just defend David for a second here. I feel like I have to because a lot of people try to, focus on the negatives more than the positives. So I'm going to go over those first, right? He helped form the Strong Five Alliance, the majority alliance in the merge, who completely dominated the post merge. Nobody could stand up to them. They voted out everybody who was opposed to them. Very dominating alliance. He was in the power structure, right? He also pulled in Mary. That made it 6, made it that much more powerful. He also won individual immunity in episode 7. I think that's worth noting. His physical prowess. He almost won another immunity against Joe. So that's also worth noting. So he could have gone on an immunity run, potentially speaking. And he correctly read Kamilla and Kyle's secret relationship. I think a lot of people forget about that. I think they focus on him being paranoid and not being able to convince Joe and Eva of what they were doing, but he did read that relationship correctly, 100% correctly. He knew they were plotting and scheming. He knew exactly what was going on. He just couldn't communicate it that well. So for his flaws, he came on too strong. Execution wasn't perfect. Like I said, he just couldn't convince people of what Kamilla and Kyle were doing. And because of that, Joe and Eva were not convinced and decided to blindside him instead. He was voted out 6-3. I just think at that point, his failure to convince them was his ultimate demise. I'm going to put him in B because he is very underrated. I think he should come back for another season to redeem himself. I think there's a lot to be said about him, but we will move on. Next, we have Star. Early target on Lagi. Kind of a little chaotic. She did give Eva her hidden immunity idol during the swap, which is crazy. She tried to create an unsuccessful revolution against a strong 5 at the final 8. It failed, and she was voted out 5-3. Not a ton to say. She was a great character. I loved having her on the season. She was really fun to watch. But in terms of gameplay, it was unfortunately a lot left to be desired. So I'll have to put her in F tier. Next, we have Mary. Mary is kind of in the same category as David, very underrated. She basically played from the bottom most of the season. She's on the bottom of Vula. She survived barely via her shot in the dark during the tribal where they tried to take her out. She had a duo with David. She was back on the bottom after David's elimination. Then she was voted out 6-1. She was scrappy. She stayed in it as long as she could, but the Strong Five Alliance couldn't break. Mitch wasn't making moves. So I think it was the people around her that ultimately doomed her at the end of the day, and the dynamics. But I'm going to have to put her in B tier, kind of similar to David, very underrated player. Next, we have Shauhin, right? Shauhin was part of the California Girls Alliance, the Strong Five Alliance, and he had a lot of moves as well under his belt. He contributed to David's demise, his blindside by planting seeds days earlier, but he was also taken out by Kyle and Kamilla. Basically, in that episode, they told Joe about him scheming to take him out, which is true. Shauhin and Kyle did have a conversation at the sanctuary, but they made up a lie about him showing Kamilla an idol. This caused him to get voted out 4-2. So he played a very good game. Definitely A tier for sure. A major character, played a great game, but he definitely didn't transcend the season. I think when you rewatch Survivor 48, I think you'll think about him. He's a main character, but he isn't going to stand the test of time. Next, we have Mitch. Mitch was on the outs on Siva. His only real ally was Charity. Very passive gameplay. And when he got to the post-merge, he lost Charity, but he was still in the mix. Still found himself working with the Strong Five, but he never made a move against the Strong Five. He had a chance to do it at the final 8. He had a chance to do it at the final 9. There were chances for him to make a move. He never made a move. And for that, I got to put him in F tier. His vote out was 4-1. Next up, we have Kamilla. Kamilla won 2 individual immunity challenges. She had a secret alliance with Kyle. They idled out Thomas, blindsided David. They took out Shauhin with Joe and Eva through manipulation. I talked about all of these prior, so I won't dive too deep into them, but Kamilla had a lot of moves under her belt. In fact, the jury said they were going to vote for her to win had she made it to the final tribal council, but she lost the firing against Eva in the final four after Kyle won immunity and put her in that position. She also advocated for Kyle, which led to his win over Joe and Eva. I think Kamilla is an amazing player, very strong player, definitely in A tier for sure. Had a major impact on the season. I think when you rewatch the season, she's the main character. She's driving the storylines. She's making the moves. Very much a Shauhin in that sense. Probably a little better than Shauhin, but I don't think she stands the test of time. I think she'll be an A tier. Next, we have Joe Hunter. For him, I'll list his strengths because there's quite a few. 4 individual immunity challenge wins, 1 shy of the record. He commanded the Strong Five Alliance based on honor and integrity, and that alliance controlled the post-merge, like I had said prior. I had a strong duo with Eva, very public, but despite that, they both made it all the way to the final tribal council. He was only voted for once, so he only received 1 vote during the entire game. And he also received 1 vote at final tribal council by Cedrick, but he was a second runner-up. It was in a 5-2 vote, 5-2 to 1 vote at the final tribal council against Eva and Kyle. So he played a great game. Jury just didn't respect him as much as they did Eva and Kyle. I think he did have some flaws. He was tricked by Kyle and Kamilla at the Thomas boot, the David boot, the Shauhin boot. And he just failed to convince the jury at final tribal council ultimately. I do think he transcends the season. He will be on Survivor 50 with Kyle, Kamilla, Survivor 50 in the hands of the fans. So he'll be remembered. He definitely transcends the season. I think the difference between him and Kamilla is that I think people are going to remember him more. He's very memorable. His relationship with Eva, his gameplay, his immunity wins, his whole honor and integrity philosophy, I think he transcends the season. I think he's someone that people will remember seasons and seasons down the line. I think Kamilla was strong, but I think she's still an A tier player. Next up, we have Eva Erickson. So I'll do the same thing for her for the final 3, all strengths and flaws, right? So Eva, her strengths, her 1 individual immunity win. She helped command the Strong Five Alliance, again, built on that honor and integrity. She also had a good spot within the alliance. Mary and David both trusted her a lot more than Joe and the rest, so she had a great spot in the alliance versus the rest of them. She also had numerous advantages, it's worth noting. She was given an idol by Star, and she earned a safety without power. She also had a chance to get a knowledge is power advantage, so that was also a potential thing. She had a public duo with Joe. They still made it to the final tribal council together. Did not receive any elimination votes, just like Kamilla, and received 2 votes at the final tribal council by Star and Mary. So she was actually the runner-up of this season, 2 votes. I think she's another A-tier player. I think she pretty much held a strong grip over the season, made a lot of the moves along with Joe and the Strong Five Alliance, helped to keep that alliance intact, kind of commanded the post-merge in that sense, along with the rest of them. I would say that she doesn't transcend the season, but she's definitely in the same ballpark as Kamilla, where she's definitely an A-tier player for sure. Next, we have the winner of Survivor 48, Kyle Frazier. No doubt, pretty much just all strengths. I don't see any really real flaws in his gameplay. I mean, 2 individual immunity wins. He had a great spot on Siva. He was roped into the majority alliance, but he was also in talks with Mitch and Charity during that time as well. So he was in a good spot with everybody. He was also part of the Strong Five Alliance that commanded the merge. And his duel with Kamilla was huge, the secret relationship they had. They made several moves together, like I talked about, idling out Thomas, blindsiding David. They took out Shauhin with Joe and Eva through manipulation. And he also was able to take out Kamilla when they lost to Eva and Fire after after he won the Final Four immunity. So we have a lot of moves under his belt. And with Kamilla's help, he was able to convince the jury that he deserved to win the title of Soul Survivor in a 5-2-1 vote. Like Joe, I think he transcends the season. I think people are going to remember his win for seasons to come. It was unique. He had a secret relationship that nobody ever knew about. He had immunity wins. He was part of the majority alliance. He made several blindsides. He had iconic gameplay that we haven't seen before. He made unique moves. He had a unique style. And he had a very strong social game. He was all around an amazing player. I think he transcends the season without a doubt. He will be in Survivor 50 along with Kamilla and Joe. So we will see how he does there. But yeah, this is my tier list for Survivor 48. This is how I ranked all the players. I think these are pretty fair rankings, I would say. I think most of the people that went high were the people in the Strong Five Alliance or associated with it. I think that's fair. I think that's pretty much how the season went. So that's my tier list. Thank you for watching. Please hit that like button and subscribe, and I will see you next time on Joe Island.